Entrance to the oracle chamber.
Alright, be right back. Wait. Light. Is the light on?
And if you yell, the voice comes out underneath the table. If you're standing up above here in the shrimp area, it sounds like the table's talking to you, maybe like a spirit or oracle.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, this is my favorite part. Yes, I didn't know.
You tell all the people all these different stories, you know.
Like you were the god of the underworld.
It's amazing to me that you used to run around in here.
Oh, we did play up here, yeah. You know, we played hide and seek up here after hours, and we watched. We slept in here in '72. All the guides. We had those cots laid in here, and that evening, it was kind of spooky too. You stand here, and like, I am the god of the underworld. I accept your sacrifice.
And the priest shall bring great destruction upon you.
Just like a politician.
Dennis, you're the chosen one.
That sound like a god? And it is bed, and you can try it on if you want. But 8 feet long. Isn't it weird, huh? Like, I mean, look at wow. This is what the two.
It's almost like a tomb in there.
It does. You know, he mentions that in his book too. You know, like the average here, and then they sealed it up around them. If you laid in there and you were looking out, you could see people in here moving, and they would not necessarily notice you. He built a fire in here because he said within 30 seconds they all had to run out of here. What we call the sacrificial table. It's about 9,000 pounds. 4 legs, as you can see, stone legs. The oracle chamber, well hidden and well concealed. During a ceremony, if there's a fluid on here, it will go in this direction. The table slightly tipped this way, and then it runs down here, and either the fluid goes into that, or you could set a vase in there and collect it. Where the astronomical platform is, they were quite surprised by this. Like it was
true west.
At a true north, yeah. And everything on the site is actually orientated in the cardinal points, and that ties in with the astronomy too.
Again, and that really goes back to a lot of the practices of what witches do, the good ones.
The good witches.
Yeah, not the evil.
Yeah. We had Wicca here back in the early 70s, you know, and we've had others up here since then, like the north wind, the south wind, the east wind, and the west.
Otherworldly entities, everything, the alignments, the winds, the different Sabbats.
This place definitely is some sort of astronomically aligned site. I think it's all spiritual. I think it was called the Ancient Sites Society back then. Those windows, the spirit windows, good piece of evidence represent male and female. This is also found at the West Canada Avenue over in England near not too far from Stonehenge.
The yin and yang.
Yin and yang, which is the oracle chamber. It's a total surprise. Through 6 feet to the oracle chamber. If you're standing up above here in the shrimp area, it sounds like the table's talking to you, maybe like a spirit. Or
the god of the underworld.
Because I've been to Greece, to the oracle of Greece, to Mexico, and some of those practices took place too.
Yes.
I mean, somebody stole them, but we have the photographs. It's dark. It's kind of dark in here.
Oh, look at that.
Back in the 50s or 60s, they started calling it the ibex, the Iberian or Spain and Portuguese ibex. It actually found in North America, South America, and Central America, Old World script seems to be Phoenician, Libyan, and Celtic. He said that they were all in Spain. We know that historically. And he thinks they jumped out of Spain and Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula, to the New World.
I should do a session in here and ask them.
And this place would be cool. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
and he saw that arrow. And I don't know if I can get it to...
Oh, and then it goes this way?
Yeah. Imagine putting some sort of votive offerings in there or something.
There's something in there.
Isn't there? Oh, is there something?
Yeah, what is that? What is it? I am kind of like sensing some stuff like...
Fertility cards and stuff.
What is this for?
Yeah, that's something we don't know.
It's an esoteric symbol.
It's basically you're entering the womb and it's a rebirth kind of thing.
You need to let me do some sessions in here.
Well, you can.
I recorded this.
There's an offering to the gods. There's offerings in there, to the gods, goddesses.
About the witch's chamber in my sessions with the other worldly beings.
New England's Ancient Mysteries. And he has 2 museums in Salem, Mass. One of the witches' strange sites all over New England and artifacts. It's called the Witch's Chamber. It's a stone structure. I'm going to see if they can actually track it down. The witch's hut or chamber is one of these ancient megalithic sites.
Eternal, endless dimension. Dennis is my dear friend, but I've been learning and working with him about his Stonehenge that's been in his family. It led to extraterrestrial contact. Dennis, look!
So I'm trying to contemplate what I'm looking at. It was just like, boom, went straight to the ground instantaneously.
Aliens, UFOs, Dennis has showed me. A big spiritual, esoteric symbol.
Show you UFO. Landing light, short coming down slowly over the Dome of the Rocks. It hesitates and it shoots up like a gunshot. Is that possible? Have you seen him go into the earth? Because he goes only in reptilians and only in Skinwalker Ranch. She's Betty Hill's niece, as you know. And she actually was one of the top researchers at MUFON.
I was in complete shock about this.
It's in a similar part of the sky where you saw it, where I saw mine. Yeah.
On the game camera, those UAPs were closer.
The solstices, equinoxes, cross-quarter days. Maybe the Serpentine Wall is the sacred part of the hilltop here.
Classical temples, ancient structures. Sometimes in ancient civilizations, there were carvings on these orthostats. Monolithic architecture.
You'd have about 1 acre excavated out of the 110. Saturation radar is wonderful because it's non-invasive. You can actually run it over without disturbing the soil. But people using LiDAR, we're just using ground penetration radar. She has Radar Solutions International. We actually almost fell into a couple of these in Stonehenge because you can be walking along and never see it. And what they found in the bottom? Quartz crystals. Not just quartz, but beautiful quartz crystals. And that was like, wow. Quartz crystal, as you know, it has energy in it. They worship quartz crystals here, but those quartz crystals may have been somewhat meaningful to the ancient people on the way to the main site, the sacred site. Thing with holy water there, because that does go back way before Christianity. Standing stone, monolith, 2 Ouroboros over there, serpent biting the tail.
Ancient practices, holidays, Sabbaths. You always invite people out for the winter solstice, Imbolc, all the other ones. So that way everybody is aware of that.
Yeah, and we do running circles up here and stuff.
2022 and the winter solstice. The winter solstice at Dennis's Stonehenge. The monolith, the Stonehenge for the winter solstice is when it all becomes in alignment with the stars.
That's pretty much what's there. So it's a tip of the iceberg, I think.
Have you ever been to America's Stonehenge in Salem, New Hampshire, and do you believe or have you had an encounter with UFOs and extraterrestrials, aka aliens? Well, you're about to see data, evidence gathered with extraterrestrial contact linked to Dennis Stone's Stonehenge in Salem, New Hampshire. So, here we go. So Dennis marks on the maps the different hinges and pyramids all over the world. Hey, Dennis.
Well, I'm Dennis Stone at America's Stonehenge, and it's on a beautiful April day today. We're standing between the visitor center and what we call the main site. And the hilltop is about 110 acres with walls all over the site, and right behind me is one of the examples of one of the walls. We thought initially for many, many years these walls outside the main site might be more historical than prehistoric. But we found so many different features in these walls over the years that we now believe that these walls may be prehistoric. And it's actually backed up by an OSL, optically stimulated luminescence date that just came out in October. It was done in 2020 by Dr. Feathers from the University of Washington. And they actually took some dirt next to one of the walls. They were able to analyze it, and the date of the earth goes back to 1400. So the wall was built first, and then the dirt came in. So the dirt predates that time period. So they are what we think pre-colonial, pre-Columbian, and actually maybe part of the ancient site, covering again about almost 110 acres. And when they were filming Ancient Aliens here in 2019 in the spring, the gentleman that was doing the B-roll filming up here, he was leaving. I had my assistant archaeologist with me, and we accompanied him up to the site. He did his filming, and then at the end of the day, he came back down, and we escorted him back down through here. And as we were leaving, right over in this area here, and I'll walk over to it, Pete is his name, the assistant archaeologist, and he's a stonemason too. He does that professionally. He went to the University of Boulder for his degree, and he's been in it for about 35 years. So anyway, he pointed this out here. And what we failed to see here as I walk in front of it is this is another window. And what we're looking at is this being the window, and here, the lintel, and these stones in here are all loose. They're like shutters laid out, almost like a Venetian blind, horizontally. And the point I was going to make is as we were leaving with the history cameraman, he had put all his equipment away, unfortunately, because we could have put that on the show, or at least had it recorded by him.
I didn't know that.
And this is one of about 22 windows we've discovered since 2016. And I found 6 more starting this year in January, and about 3 or 4 weeks ago I found my last 2 I call the stacked twins. And I think I might have sent you some pictures of those possibly.
You did.
We have 22 of them now, and they're found in North Stonington, Connecticut, where there are 8,000 of these stone features over 35,000 acres. They're found in the Berkshires. And one thing we're not sure about is some of these are located in what look like kind of a normal wall, although maybe prehistoric, ancient in other words. Some of these are found in what we call serpentine walls. Mm-hmm. So we don't know the correlation yet. The one in the Berkshires, I've seen photographs they are in serpentine walls. It's very, very obvious. The wall's shaped like a snake with a head, body, and tail. In some of ours here, I'd say 2/3 of them at least are found in serpentine walls. And in this case of this wall, I don't think it is a serpentine wall, but we don't know for sure, you know. Some of the walls that are serpentine are quite obvious. And if you can aim your camera up towards that boulder there, that is the Watch House boulder. It's a glacial erratic. It's a natural boulder. And as you go slightly to the right, you start to see how the wall undulates behind it, up and down, up and down. Yeah. And that was recognized since 2016 as possibly being a serpent wall. And again, 1 out of 14 serpent walls we think we located on this site. And that one there goes around the entire hilltop, comes back in front of itself, as we'll see in a few minutes. It looks like it might be biting its tail. And if it is, it might be the Ouroboros, which is a circle of life, infinity, wholesomeness, and other.
There's so much knowledge behind the Ouroboros from alchemy, ancient literature, Egypt, magical workings and practices, hieroglyphs, belief systems across the world, from Vietnam to priesthood with things, high priestesses and their different belief systems, and all the way, it's in Norse mythology as well. There's stories about it. The Yamundra, I believe it was called, in those stories. So there's too much to knowledge and history to really teach about the Ouroboros. So the basic, most important and common and aligned definition that is present among and within the source of all this knowledge is that it's eternal dimensions, it's eternity, it's immortality, birth, destruction, reincarnation. There's so much depth within Ouroboros, and it's just found all over the world in so many ancient texts and things like that, practices and belief systems, that it all kind of comes down to a common meaning. So that's something for another documentary, but just to kind of give you an idea, it does come up a lot and lead back to alchemy, burial grounds, sacred, holy grounds, like pyramids, things like that, Viking stones. There's a picture of one right here. And then stories, literature again, and seance sessions as well. I have documented otherworldly beings that call themselves the Anunnaki, and then some that call themselves angels and so forth, spirits, and within the oracle chambers of Dennis Stone's Stonehenge in Salem, New Hampshire, speaking of these particular symbols as well. And they had said the same thing. They said hieroglyphs in your blood. Holy Spirit, eternal, endless dimensions. I recorded this back in, it's like 2022 or 2023. I think it was 2023. And, I've been, Dennis is my dear friend, but I've been learning and working with him about his Stonehenge that's been in his family for, since his father. And it led to extraterrestrial contact. It led to aliens, UFOs, Dennis has showed me. So there's a lot coming up here. And at one point, we document during the winter solstice in 2022, these UFOs that descended and just sat there for at least 30, 40 minutes. I still have the footage. And Dennis and I were just looking at them at Stonehenge. And that is exactly what happened. And we've kind of been investigating it ever since for the last few years. Dennis has seen lights shoot down straight into the ground, and he's showed me photos on his game cameras of these, UFOs that were coming, descending onto, above his property. So, some interesting stuff coming up here. Here we go.
But it's surrounding about a little over 15 acres of land, that wall. as it comes around, and then it goes right in front of its, I guess, face you would call it, or mouth with the tail, and it's a pointed tail. And all of these features were there. They've been kind of in front of our eyes for decades, and we've only recognized them recently. Our eyes are kind of finally opened up on these. You have to train your eye to see these, because you can walk by them and never notice these features. But the serpent is ancient. It's all over the world. And again, the serpent wall thing we're finding now all the way out to Weed, California by Mount Shasta, another very, very special place. And I have about 110 pictures from the town of Weed, and they have few trees there, so the walls are much, much more in the open. And this hilltop here, it was so thick with forest, it was hard to see these features. And we've been thinning it out since the 1950s, actually, and then recently we did a forest management project over the last 2 winters, and now you can really start to see some of the features. Another cool feature on that same wall, part of that body of that serpent, if you see that boulder up there, another glacial boulder, it looks kind of like a turtle effigy. Can you see it? It's to the
we'll walk up there too.
To the right of that standing stone. That's one of our monoliths. It's that boulder. That in case is a natural one, but like the old man of the mountain in New Hampshire, kind of something natural, but we still have it as our state logo. And ancient people may have, seen something like that. It was very spiritual to them. We're getting a little bit closer to the watch house, and you can see the boulder head. It's kind of looking to the left. To the left of the boulder, there is kind of a wall that has kind of a rounded top, and we've noticed that ever since we've been open in 1958, and people noticed it, I'm sure, in the 1930s during the early research of the site. But that wall actually comes right there. It comes in front of the boulder, and it's a pointed tail, which we'll see in a few moments. But to the right of the head again, you can start to see the undulation in the wall. And until a couple of years ago, there was so much woods there, which we've thinned, it was hard to make it out. Yeah, the head, and then the first hump, the second hump, and then there's more humps behind that. He's that guy's been doing it for 40 years to get a repair on that wall. And we got those little mason spots in there. There's a couple of those.
There are a couple in there.
83 of them. So this is the head, and you can see the pointed tail where it comes to right here. Actually, here's beautiful. The wall comes back in front of itself, and then it ends right here, we think. You can see this pointed tail right there. So
there's the point.
So the head. We GPS'd it, by the way, back in, about, I guess 2017, I think, the second year we were working on these. We actually went on GPS this very carefully all the way around. And again, it goes right back where we are today, 2,550 feet, takes it to this pointed tail. And we've been looking at this for decades. We never noticed this pointed tail like this. And you look at it, it's like very obvious now,
It is obvious.
Very obvious, yeah.
It was a big spiritual, esoteric symbol for many representations. So it's so cool to see that here.
Rock.
Yeah.
It's very solid. It's here. Like right now, I can't show you UFO, but I've seen them, and you definitely at your field.
Well, you've seen UFOs here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then there was one you said it was March of 2021. You said it, or the month before March of 2021.
Right, February of 20.
Did it come down, or did you see it come up?
Yeah, this is the weird thing. It was like that bright, very intense light. I went into our living room. We live on the west side. It looks to the west, south of the Manchester Airport, towards Londonderry in Derry, New Hampshire. So I was south of the airport from my vantage point, but it's 9 o'clock February at night. Very dark, clear skies. It was very bright. I'm looking at it, that could be a landing light, although it seems sort of odd because it should be further out to be landing on 3-5 in Manchester or 6, because that's where I learned to fly, in Manchester,
Yeah,
anyway, this thing was there, and I'm like, I don't see any strobe lights, but the light's very intense. Maybe it's obscuring that, or a rotating beacon. They have to be on too, There's different lights on the plane that have to be on during, different light conditions, twilight. When you start an engine, the beacon lights have to be on. That should be obvious too, rotating red beacon, bottom and top of the plane. But with a very, very bright landing light, sometimes it's a little hard to see those initially, but you should see the strobe lights. Those are the white strobe lights on the wingtips, flashing. So I saw this bright light, very like we saw in that, but very intense. All of a sudden it went straight to the ground instantaneously. The thing it looked like was the one over the Dome and the Rocks in Israel, where they show it coming down slowly over the Dome and the Rocks. It hesitates, and it shoots up like a gunshot, like that. This one went into the earth. I asked Kathleen Martin about that 2 years ago. I said, Kathleen, have you ever heard Transmedium, space, air, water. South of the Manchester Airport, there's some water. You know, the Merrimack River's further over. There's a few ponds and streams. You can just look at it. But there's no big body of water right there. So this thing was south of the Manchester Airport from my perspective. It looked to be a couple thousand feet in the air. I only saw it for about maybe 3 or 4 seconds. I'm trying to contemplate what I'm looking at. And all of a sudden it went down vertically, instantaneously. There's no acceleration. It was just like boom. And I don't know what happened to it, you know. I don't know where it went. When I asked Kathy Martins, is that possible? Have you seen him go into the earth? Because that's pretty much what's there, you know. There's only little bodies of water there and streams and stuff. She goes, only in reptilians and only in Skinwalker Ranch. And I said, because I talked to her. She's Betty Hill's niece, as you know, and she's at all these UFO things. You know, so that was her explanation, and she actually was one of the top researchers at MUFON, you know, and then her husband got sick, and then she kind of stepped a little bit away from it.
Oh, wow.
Kathleen Martin, yeah, she's been here before.
Oh,
so that
amazing.
was her take, and I kind of trust her from all her knowledge, you know. I thought it was very unusual, because usually they go that way, you know.
Oh, I've seen so many. I have video. Well, I sent you some of the videos,
You did,
didn't I?
yeah.
But I'll never forget some of the stuff I've seen. I was in complete shock about this.
Yeah.
And then it happened, and I was like, Dennis, look.
You sent me those, yeah.
And then the ones you found, and that's what I really need to see.
It's in a similar part of the sky where you saw it and where I
know.
saw mine. Mm-hmm. And then
But yours is closer.
Yeah.
On the game camera, those UAPs were closer.
Some more research on this, but if the site was a ceremonial site, people would come up here, perhaps in a pilgrimage kind of thing, you know, maybe during the solstices, equinoxes, cross-quarter days, maybe when somebody was, maybe if there was a birth, maybe if there was a death. But I think the Serpentine Wall may be another symbol of protecting this 15 acres. This is a sacred part of the hilltop here. What you'll see in some of the walls that surround the main site that kind of make it different than farmers' walls. Farmers' walls are fairly straight or linear, field clearing, stock fences, and boundaries. Usually a lot of rounded rocks, and what we have is we do find a lot of these kind of stones like this. These are orthostats.
An orthostat is a large stone slab. Often it's upright. It comes from the Greek word orthos, which means upright or standing. These are typically found at the bottom of a structure or a wall, architecture, things like that, classical temples, ancient structures. Sometimes in ancient civilizations there were carvings on these orthostats, and they were always near monolithic architecture as well, or not always. They were often found in those areas, just to kind of give you a little bit of knowledge behind what an orthostat is.
Big slabs taken off the bedrock intentionally stood on their edge. And we have most of the walls around this hilltop as we walk, we'll see that kind of feature. And some have windows, of course, and some are serpentine in shape. But we noticed that even in the 50s. Goodwin noticed that back in the 30s. Thought that was a little unusual for a farmer's wall. And the walls twist, they turn, and they bend up here. And then throughout the Northeast, we're finding the same kind of features in stone walls, too, whether it's serpentine wall or the orthostats. And this wall does contain the monoliths where the sun rises and sets. Moon. That's part of the body of the serpent.
Yeah.
I came here in 55 when I was a baby, pretty much. We opened in 1958. And I found this one, I'd say about 3 years ago I found this one. It was between now and 2016 when I started finding my first serpent walls and what we call spirit windows.
Those are so just...
And we just saw one down there with little shutters. We have others with shutters too.
Oh, indeed.
I found 6 just in within a 2-month period this winter. I found 6 of them, and they were all in the same area.
Oh, that's right. You texted me about those.
Yeah, 4 of them were in one wall.
I do recall.
And that picture of the one with the 4 in the wall?
I think Arizona and the Texas area.
This stuff, yeah. I mean, I know there are mountains in Texas too, and there's some other features down there. The serpentine thing goes from southern Canada, and I had people here a month ago from Winnipeg. And the girl's sister moved to New Hampshire, so they'll be back again, you know, and they're up in Canada. Parks Canada is actually in charge of what she showed me, and she showed me both stonework that was shaped like turtles, which we have here.
Yeah, I remember those.
We have a couple turtles, we think. We'll see one in a minute. It's right up there.
Yes.
And serpentine walls. And I'm like, my God, this is the same thing we have here. They go to Alabama, and they go all the way out to Mount Shasta, Weed, and they're all the way up into New England, you know. So the serpent thing is all, and then you go south of the border, you have, Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan serpent, kind of bearded serpent. So we're standing at the partway between the watch house, we're on the double wall path, and the main site, which is kind of up here, and it's about a 1 acre area.
And that's where we're going now.
Yeah, we'll be going there, yeah. And that fence was put up in 1937. That green fence was put up 85 years ago. It's in remarkable shape.
It is.
And Goodwin put that up there to protect the site. Turns out the guy, I have the letterhead from the company that put that up, and the name Woodall's on it. And I heard years ago that our chief archaeologist in the 1960s and 70s, he was a Harvard graduate, of architecture, but he was involved with this ancient stonework for years. He joined us in the 60s. He died in 1999. He had a group called the Early Sites Research Foundation Society. He had put together in the 1970s. He was also the chief archaeologist of my dad's group called New England Antiquities Research. So turns out it was one of his cousins that put that fence up. What a small world, right?
It's amazing.
Family. And I had heard that, and I found the letterhead this year. I'm like, there's the Woodall name on that letterhead. And they talked about how they put it up, and they had guys working here weekends to finish it. The worry by Mr. Goodall was that people were already starting to, the site was starting to get more publicity, and people would visit, and sometimes people would come up here. It was all basically uncontrolled, and people might take things, move things, and vandalism. He wanted to protect that, especially where he's starting to clean it and do restoration work. So that fence has been up there to protect the site. The barbed wire on top of it's actually aiming in to try to keep artifacts from coming out. Usually the barbed wire is on the outside. We put it on the inside with the arms tilted inward to keep artifacts from coming out of it. That was a thought, anyway, back then. Now, the swamp here actually, it dries up in the summer, but excavations have taken place here, and if you get below the muck there, it's all pure white clay, and this clay was used to make pottery.
Yes.
And in the 60s, over by number 5, I think I got to remove a little brush so you can see number 5. They found pottery grit. So when you make a bowl out of clay, you have to have something in the clay to make it stronger, like crushed rock, crushed shell, plant fiber, or take old pottery, smash it up to very, very fine pieces, and put it into the clay, mix it in, and then make like a coil, like a snake. Here we go with the snake thing again. Coil it up, and then you paddle the outside of it, and then you have to fire it. So we believe this is an area where they were preparing to make pottery. And some of the pottery found on the main site is historic from the Paddy period, but some of the pottery was identified as looking as corded pottery, very similar to Western European pottery on the main site. That was found by Goodwin and other James Woodall, as I mentioned, back in the 60s.
Oh, the stuff you have in the front is incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I hope everyone stops and looks at that.
That's just a sampling of all the artifacts, yeah.
Yes. And you're still discovering things.
Yeah, I think we've only excavated, if you put all the excavations and shovel test pits done since 1937 together, you'd have about 1 acre excavated out of the 110. So it's a tip of the iceberg, I think. So I'll give you an idea. Ground penetration radar is wonderful because it's non-invasive. You can actually run it over without disturbing the soil, without digging, and you can see features under the ground. Yeah, so we're trying to use that. It's not destructive, but if you do find something and you discuss it among yourself, the archaeologists say, we should put a shovel test pit in and see what we have. We see something on the imaging, from radar. Why don't we excavate and see what we have there, and then that's what they would do. It makes it much more, you don't have to go digging holes all over the property, and time-wise and money-wise for people to come in and do that.
Absolutely.
It's a big thing,
It is.
But we are mapping the hill using LiDAR. We are mapping some of the areas using ground penetration radar. And our friends that do both, woman's from Waltham, Mass. She has Radar Solutions International. Her name is Dory. She's been here several times. And her friend Tom is a gentleman with that handheld LiDAR. They're starting to put their imaging together, so when you look at the computer, you'll see above and below with her and his matched, combined for 3D above and below the ground. So if you have features that continue below the surface, you can see that now. That's kind of cool technology,
Yeah.
So we use both of that here. The double wall path does go by this lower well, and this well's never been dug down to the bottom. They've gone down about 12 feet. We don't know how deep it is. North Stonington, Connecticut has all these features you'll see today, except maybe the table and our oracle chamber, but they have everything else. And they have many of these wells. They're flush to the ground. So the author actually almost fell into a couple of these in Stonington because you can be walking along and never see it. What we'd like to do is excavate that to the bottom, look for artifacts, see if they're historic or prehistoric artifacts, if there are any, So that's never been done because every time they get down about 12 feet, it fills in with water, so that would require just a pump and somebody that's willing to get in there in that condition and dig. My dad, we did the upper well. There's 2 wells here. The upper well was done in 61, and my dad finished it in 63. It goes down 18 feet of stacked stones, which are man-made, and then you get below that, the bedrock had been quarried about 5 feet.
Wow.
And actually, the bottom of it gets wide, and what they found in the bottom? Quartz crystals. Not just quartz, but beautiful quartz crystals, and that was like, wow. Some of those are on display. Quartz crystal, as you know, it has energy in it. People in ancient past, they worship quartz crystals. They're very precious. A lot of cairns are found with quartz, the white quartz, milky quartz, on top or in the structures. And we have some of that here, but those quartz crystals may have been somewhat meaningful to the ancient people.
Absolutely.
I've been looking at this wall since I was a kid, and I noticed the end of it up there has that boulder on the right. So the wall goes straight. In the 1970s, when we were surveying, we found that from the North Stone, which is several hundred feet in that direction, the monolith goes through the platform, the wooden platform, where there were 2 cairns until the 1930s. Unfortunately, Mr. Goodwin destroyed them when he was doing restoration. He thought they were part of the oracle chamber. But there were 2 cairns, and what they were is astronomical centers. He destroyed our astronomical center of our site. And he photographed it, and he had a tripod of wood with a winch, and they're lifting up rocks out of it, rebuilding part of the ramp where the chain link fence is up above there, the gray one on top where the table is.
Yeah.
They're rebuilding part of the north side of that, unfortunately. Most of the work was done very carefully here. That was, I think, one of their mistakes. He thought that those 2 cairns were hollow like beehives and they were connected to the oracle chamber, and I'm just reading about it again, reviewing his book last night. I was in that same section. So that alignment goes through the platform from the North Stone, comes right at us, and it heads true south of here. This wall was found in what we call the true south wall. But since 2016, when we started finding serpentine walls, I looked at it again and I said, wait a minute. It's a 90-degree bend up there where that rock is, on the other side of the chain link fence. Is that the head, and this is the body? And as I mentioned, my friend from West Virginia, he gives me a lot of radio shows. He's really into this archaeology and research. He sends me a lot of different things, regarding anything to do with astronomy, archaeology, archaeoastronomy, whatever. He sends me a diagram of a wall down in, they're in Tennessee, they're in Kentucky, and I think this one was in Kentucky. It was on a hill, it's kind of remote, and what it was a stone wall, and now they recognized it as a serpent wall, even in the 70s, which we had no clue until recently about these serpentine walls. But it's a kind of a big, wide mouth with the body and just the tail. And I looked at this again, and I'm looking at this going, well, maybe up there is the tail. It's 90 degrees, like some of them are, 90 degrees like that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the head's like that. And then the wall comes straight down here on a true south alignment. And then this is the mouth right here, the wide mouth, because the one I saw that he sent me has a mouth about the same shape as that, like this, very wide. The Great Serpent Mound in Ohio has a mouth that's open and it's swallowing what they think was an egg. So perhaps I was looking at this wall backwards. And if you look again, you see a stump there, a pine stump, and beyond it, just between the stump and the chain link fence, you'll see another boulder. One thing I noticed even 6 years ago, I thought of, even if that was the head up there, are we looking at the prey that the serpent ate? Because when the serpent eats something, sometimes it bulges the body. Mm-hmm. Some of the walls here in Connecticut too, the middle of the body gets wider and then it gets narrow again. It says the serpent ate its prey. Some of them might be a pregnant snake, and I think that's when the bulges a little more towards the tail. And again, that would be reproduction, fertility, and symbolism of that.
Immortality, birth, destruction, reincarnation. There's so much depth with an Ouroboros.
Well, you have to look at these walls so carefully. Each little feature, even that glacial boulder there by the fence, might be something that was intentional, and maybe it represented either a pregnant snake, and it's closer to the tail, or it ate its prey. In the big mouth here, it's doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe, I can't talk to the builders, but maybe. And that's the question we've got to ask.
I know, I can't wait.
I'll talk with you at this, and then we can look at the way the ancient people may have rock on the way to the main site, possibly. Again, we try not to be absolute on anything, but this is our best guess, if you will. This is a processional path, starts at the watch house, goes by the lower well. Is that something with holy water there? Because that does go back way before Christianity in different cultures.
Well, it's ancient. So that's what they say.
They might have You're okay. So this is something that normally our visitors don't come up, although people have been doing this because they think this is going to the main.
I know, I've never seen anyone come this way. I didn't even notice this the very first time.
The stonework is just so
Stunning.
Look inside with some of the rocks in there. So the wall, come up here, there's a 90-degree turn, and it goes into the main site. It goes into an area where they call the gatepost slab. There's two of them, we think, originally, and this is the way people would enter the site, the sacred site, was through here, possibly. It's one of our thoughts after all these decades. So the people would walk up here. There's more stonework up here, standing stones, monoliths.
Yeah, I can see them.
I think I have two Ouroboroses over there. The serpent biting a tail.
That's an Ouroboros.
The watch house is another one, although it's not the watch house. The tail's on the side of the mouth, but Ouroboros is like that. But if you do Google Ouroboros, maybe 1 out of 40 or 50 pictures, you'll see these like this. So,
yeah, I have seen those before.
You have, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we have them in stone, 3 of them in stone here.
Oh, yeah?
That's so cool, huh? So you see those little office stacks. There's one that's tall, there's another one fallen, unfortunately, and then that one is leaning too.
That's a monolith.
Yeah, I think we got...
You think that one is there?
Yeah, it should be vertical. It's possible because of its tilt. We should get it back vertical so it won't fall over and cause damage. We hate to move anything and touch anything here, but that may be a restoration, possibly. Then we have this big slab with rocks on it. We do see that in Connecticut too. Rather than a monolith, it's like a big slab with stones on it. But I think the stone here has fallen over too. I think it should be on its end.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Monolith, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So here the wall goes in, and in the northwest, it's a little hard to see, but if the people proceeded this way, there's a big slab right there, and that's one of the gatepost slabs. But a lot of damage was done in the 1800s by quarrymen. This is the area they worked, took stones out of here, used them for local building projects, and they worked their way across up to about where the chain link fence is there.
Yeah.
And they stopped.
Yeah.
So they caused damage here.
They did.
Now to the northwest, it's a little hard to see, it's behind those pine trees, there's another double wall path. In that they both converge right in this area. So was this 2 different pathways for people to enter the site, one from the northwest and then one from this direction down here. And so you can see some of the layout of the stone walls.
It's a path, but built out of serpents and turtles.
It seems to be.
That's what's interesting to me. I really need to ask them why. What the symbology is, why the ancient tribes would do this, or the people.
Some people thought the turtle, we were like on the back of the turtle, and that's what the earth is. Some other people, the serpent, it's everywhere, including Draco, the constellation.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was another thing I was thinking about the other day on my tower. I was thinking about your Stonehenge and the things they told me. I was like, these could be like constellations, stuff from the stars, and that's why they used to do that, because the beings that I talk to, they're always talking about alignment. They're talking about other worlds. Yeah. Yes, and they talked about alignment with your property with this winter solstice. I wasn't even in town. They told me to. I'm glad I did too.
But the alignment, and some people suggest as above, so below, bringing things that you're kind of talking about.
And that is a very important lesson within the teachings of practitioners.
I think Tasha, she'll be back for the, she's been with us for about 30 years. She's from Holland. She grew up Catholic, but she does a lot of celebrations here since 1993, I think her 30th anniversary, and she's been on Travel Channel, and she gave permission for travel. They were filming for the solstice, I think, and they asked her if they could film part of her celebration. So sometimes she'll have several dozen people. She's had a few hundred people show up. Like one day we had 1,000 people show up for her
Yes, and you always invite everyone, all of the ancient practices, holidays, Sabbaths, you always invite people out for the winter solstice, Imbolc, all the other ones. So that way everybody is aware of that.
Yeah, and we do running circles up here and stuff. Some of the heads of serpents I mentioned are stacked heads with stones, and I think this is possibly one. See the way the body's down here and then it goes up, rises up?
Yeah.
And you see in front of it where the mouth and the face would be, this small wall there that kind of interconnects. What I think it might be symbolizing is another Ouroboros. And this wall kind of wraps around itself, and this might be it's biting its own tail in this case. So we're going to walk over here.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Everything looking so clean in here, but stuff is in the windstorm. So we're going to go over the wall, which we don't normally like to do here, but we'll walk over carefully, not trip. We try not to put wear and tear on the walls, too, So I kind of keep it over. They're pretty rugged, but they do knock rocks off. This is part of her celebration thing right here.
Oh!
You notice this wall here, it does the same thing as that other wall. They just like that right over here. So from here, and then you look back at that one over there, they both rise, and then they go straight down, and then there's a wall in front. So I'm thinking we have two possible Ouroboroses right here. They do look like some of the other ones I've seen elsewhere. And the watch house being the one with the serpent tail in front of it, too.
I see it.
So if
that one head.
anybody go to this trevor,
Snake head there.
And then,
Snake head there. Biting the tail. So that's the head biting the tail.
Maybe, yeah.
It looks like that.
That's what it looks like.
Because there's no gaps anywhere.
And as I had a tour out here about 6 years ago, a lady pulled out her cell phone, and she goes, "Have you heard the Ouroboros?" And I had not. I don't think until 2016-ish.
Really?
Or 17, never heard of that. And she goes, "Look, this is some Greek. It goes back Egyptian, but it can be more worldwide than that, other cultures."
It is.
She shows me jewelry and some artwork and some pottery with the Ouroboros. I'm like,
in China and Vietnam. My family's from Vietnam.
Oh, they're Vietnamese, yeah. So, and that's kind of cool, too, to find out, what was... If that... See, I want to know if Native Americans had that.
Some, not all, because my great-great-grandparents were full-blooded Native Americans.
Oh, they were.
And they married into the Vietnamese family. And they're the ones who passed down all that knowledge to me that I put in the book. Native American, Vietnamese, a mix. Yeah.
So I think, here it is in stone. I think we're looking at possible Ouroboroses. And notice the way the walls, again, they twist, they turn, and that, again, there is a D shape. In LiDAR, we did LiDAR, including, it didn't go out there. It did about 16 acres in the LiDAR because he had to walk around by hand. He just had back surgery 2 days ago.
Oh,
he said he's up walking already.
Wow.
He had to skip his trip to Belize to look at some Mayan. I know I was going to try to go down with him this week, but he's canceled because, surgery. He's going to take it easy for a while. And he was going to go to the NEAR meeting in Pennsylvania and talk about his LiDAR here and other places. He's doing LiDAR all the way down. And he said he's going to do it by Skype. I'm not going to drive down there with my bad back, surgery. But Tom, he's a guy from Connecticut, and then his friend has the ground penetration radar.
Yeah.
So, one of these walls, and again, there's probably, you see in the distance is a wall. The winter solstice is way over there, and we have a wall.
Okay, so I'm going to jump back to the year 2022 and the winter solstice. Today is the year 2025, and it is almost October. So I want to give you an idea of what the winter solstice at Dennis's Stonehenge looks like. It's beautiful. He just pointed out the wall where the monolith and the Stonehenge for the winter solstice is when it all becomes in alignment with the stars. Here we go.
It's over there. Yep, that way. It's gonna be that way. Fuck. D. There's E. Alright, I'm almost there. I walked right to it and didn't even know it. That's cool. That usually happens with the angels. I guess y'all are guiding me. I think it's over there. There it is.
Directly where I am pointing is the winter solstice monolith, and above that is where the UFOs appeared, while the plane, or at least we think it was a plane, was traveling to the left. And hours before we saw that, I touched the monolith, and that's exactly where I'm standing.
A little knot in the rock, or is it just the point? The point is right. Lost out.
For a picture, that's like the best book right now.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Good, Harvey?
Oh my God. Is it? I think it might just be a plane.
wall, a wall, a wall, and a wall. And I think I counted 10 walls almost within sight. The farmers, again, when they built walls, they're fairly practical. They built them to surround the field, clear a field, and maybe a stock fence, but they're pretty straight walls or linear. They don't do what these walls do, and they don't have a lot of slab work in them, where these walls do that. So when you look at these walls with either a drone, which I know you want to do.
Yes, we're going to do that.
If you look at the History Channel, the site's done very well with a drone on that episode.
Okay.
But I don't think you get...
Tell everyone where they can find that.
Yeah, so the episode they shot for us was done in the spring of 2019. It aired on July 19th, my mom's 100th birthday. Unfortunately, she passed away a few days before that. But it was on July 19th. It was called, I believe, The Ancient Druid. I'm trying to remember the actual title.
Oh, the Ancient Alien ones is Ancient Druid.
Ancient Alien, Ancient Druid, yeah. And they showed sites down in the Hudson Valley. And David Childress and Drew Newman, I think, showed up for that. And then they went to Gungy in Connecticut, which is a 250-acre site, which is a big, big site. And the state of Connecticut just purchased the land, and they're doing work with it now, trying to preserve it. And then the next site they came up and filmed us. So you'll see 3 different sites on it. The Hudson Valley, where there's over 500.
That's it. You just made me remember. That's where you said there were more of these sites. It was the Hudson Valley.
Touches Putnam and Westchester County. And they go into Monticello, Bethel, and Woodstock. The famous Woodstock, actually, it was in Bethel where they had the Woodstock in '69. But that whole area is just loaded, and there are serpentine walls, and they're just discovering the serpentine walls here in the last few years. I went there in '64, and we saw some of the chambers back, and we know they were there, although, it was nothing new. But the serpentine walls, because these walls are hidden in the woods, they're looking at them now, and you can see there's like serpents,
Yeah.
No,
I haven't found it. What episode were you on X-Files?
February of 1995 is called Die Hand, D-I-E, Hand, Die Release. I don't know where the hell I came up with that. And it's in Milford Haven, which is Milford, I think, here. And then all I do is the girls crying and something bad happened. And we were on a field trip 2 weeks ago at a place they call American Stonehenge. And I think they said American instead of Americas.
Oh.
In Milford Haven, New Hampshire. They made sure that was New Hampshire. I'm like, there. And my cousin, he was living in Georgia. I think he was living back then, probably in New York or Georgia. And he goes, hey, did I just see you guys on the X-Files? I said, yeah. I said, Chris Carter, the producer, must have seen. That's the year we first got internet here, and I'm wondering if that did it or a TV show did it. But he became aware of us. He must have, or the writers did, and they put us in the show. And
Dennis, you're my coolest friend in the world. That's my favorite show in the world.
I love X-Files. In fact, I saw them all on Sling, and then I went through the whole thing. So I'm going to wait a little while before I watch them again, because they'll look fresh again.
I know that. I keep them running all the time because I don't have cable.
Well, you got to see it. You may have, and I'll tell you what. It's so quick with us on there. It's just cool to be part of that, but it's so quick because the girl's just discussing a field trip with the school, and then some bad, stuff happened. Set from, but the alignment.
Yes, this is where we were sitting.
Yeah.
And then you were over here with all of the lovely folks, different kinds of belief systems and practices, and I walked up to that monolith right there. That is the winter solstice one.
We opened that up in 1965. We opened up the trees, and I did that. It's still around.
Right here, you opened it up?
Yeah, I had to open the trees from see right back where the site is. You can see the roof of the platform, and I'm standing in line with that platform. The astronomical center goes right through here.
That's what I had in the other videos.
Right through there, yeah.
It's literally just a straight shot from where I recorded the UAPs to the actual Stonehenge. So it's really just amazing to me. I do see the tower.
Yeah, in that tower. So
we need to investigate this.
The floor plume, I can show you the tree and look at the angle in a minute. But this is a curved wall. This is an arched wall. And from here you watch the winter solstice. From this rock over here, either coincidentally or not, I think it was intentionally too. From here across that same stone, and actually the forestry people did a good job. You can see that maybe a tree we have to remove to watch. In 2025, the lunar major standstills will occur, maybe 18 and a half years.
Oh, yes.
So I went here in 2025 to watch the moon set, when the moon goes furthest to the south that year. And several months
You saw it?
Yeah. So
wow.
That's a multifunctional stone. It's winter solstice every year. but every 18 and a half years, the moon should be setting over there from this point here.
That's so cool.
And at the end of this, we never noticed.
It's extraordinary.
A beautiful window. That right at the end there is a beautiful window.
Oh yeah, that's right. Now, is that the one you sent to me
Yeah,
a couple of
really good. Yeah.
months ago, I think?
I sent you and I sent you, and I might have sent you this.
Yes.
No, I brought Dave Stuart Smith before he passed away. He was with us for 40 years. I showed him that before he died, because we just started to find the surface in the windows that year. And he walks up to him and he goes, how come we never noticed that before? And he looked at the mosses and lichens to make sure nobody messed around with it, because you can see where a weathering is. And if somebody moves a stone off of it, like underneath it, you can see there's something different about it. You know? And I said, no, not that I know of. He looked at it and goes, yeah, I agree with you. He goes, how come? There was so much brush in here, we never really paid attention to this end of the wall.
Wow.
There's probably still a few small trees and, I don't know, little stumps here, although most of them are rotted by now, but this used to be, that's because it's so grown up right here.
Yes.
You can go over here if you like. You can see the wall ends here. It doesn't go touch that. See, this is the wall. The wall beyond it, some people suggest it was one continuous wall. They're not even touching. They don't do. They're offset like this. They're not even lined up with each other. They're like this.
You know, I was looking at that back in December.
Oh, you were? Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Because I didn't even know where the winter solstice was. I actually asked the beans to lead me to it, and they did.
And they did?
Yeah, I put that in part of the film that I already have ready to go. It's really interesting stuff.
Come here, and there's a stone here. I mean, that could have been whatever, but you can see the wall really comes to kind of a stop and kind of a stop there.
Yeah.
I think this is a serpent wall here. If we walk over here and look back, and then we'll go up and take a peek at that too. It's a little more ambiguous. The thing this wall really does do is it turns, it twists, and it bends. Really, it's a lot.
It turns and it twists and it bends.
Of course, a lot of our walls do anyway, but
Yeah.
down here you'll see.
Okay.
Even how it does this little thing here. It's a wide wall. It's like a couple layers wide.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. This reminds me of a boat bow right here. It comes in here, like this. And why they did this, look at the wall, how it turns. And it's like a drunk person dam. Which,
Maybe they did some rituals. Had some ritual wine.
I wouldn't mind having a couple out here. Well, we've had a few parties up here,
Have you?
But look at the way this wall does right here. How it undulates. And that's a quarry site. That's where stones came out of there. I know Scott Walters looked at that. He's from America on that side. He's been out here many times, and he's a geologist, and he looked at that. And Pete, the guy you like, Pete, he's looked at that too.
Oh, I love Pete. I can't wait to talk to him again.
Yeah, he should be coming down soon. I know he's for the spring. That's another one of those, what's her name, celebration things from one of that. I forgot that was.
Is it the Sabbath that she comes up with?
Yeah, summer, winter, spring, and fall. The cross-quarter day she doesn't really do so much. May Day, August 1st. She realizes they're ancient and very important, actually. Yeah. It's to say more than the quarter days.
Oh, they are.
Wow, look at the shape of that thing. And I think it represents a serpent. The problem is the head and the tail. The head, I would say more of the head might have been up that way. It's higher. Maybe somebody's restacked part of this too, alter it slightly.
It seems like it. I mean, obviously it's not going to be completely original, but you can see.
You see the bending and the twisting and the
Yes.
And there's no reason to build that. That's solid bedrock right there. That's solid. There's no reason to not build a straight wall here, and yet they didn't.
They didn't.
Isn't that cool? Look at even here, there's little back and forth. So vertically and horizontally, it twists. And
you know what we need to do? We should compare from an above view if some of these make an ultimate esoteric ancient symbol, because that's what they said. They said you need to find the ancient symbol.
I have the 3D model of this in the building. The guy, Tom, with LiDAR, actually has a 3D printer. My son has one at home too. He makes big plastic 3D printers. He actually made these walls down to a center detail, and about this big. And there's a model of this wall, and he made a model of one of the other serpent walls too. And some of the stones.
Didn't I look at that with you a couple months
It's
ago?
upstairs, yeah.
Oh, it's upstairs. We didn't go upstairs.
My wall room.
Yeah, we need to go up there.
But it has a wall room. That's my wall room.
I have one too.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I mean,
We're like philosophers.
but it's a nice experience for that because you have to do a lot of
Yeah,
in there, you know.
it's fun though.
Yeah, that is absolutely. Yeah.
And apparently we were meant to do these things, like you were meant to own it.
And each
In a stone. I tell everybody that.
You know, that radio, they give me on as,
It was meant to be.
pretty window from here. You know, you got your alignment, and then the window. And again,
The soul is, do you think it's a soul window?
some people suggest a soul. Maria Wheatley from England, she was just in Egypt doing a tour just recently.
In Egypt?
She's going to Seattle. She lives in England, right by Avebury. She looks like Stevie Nicks.
Oh, I remember her.
She's wonderful, and she's going to come here. Her dad was here years ago.
She's doing amazing work.
I would love you to meet Maria. She's more into the dowsing. Where she says the windows are between you and I in the camera is that I was mentioning these
Do you want me to turn it off?
Andrew Collins from Ancient Aliens. I was talking to Andrew about some of the newest ones, and he thought they were so cool. And I mentioned, hey, I was just talking because they're friends. Everybody, all these people are friends together. And I said, I was just talking to Andy about these windows. I'm just finding 6 more. She goes, Andy knows that these things are spirit windows or soul holes, but my feeling is that they channel energy, the vortice channels, or whatever. She says, so Andy's more into the spirit going through them. She goes, but they're actually places where energy flows. That was her thought.
The light. That's
light or energy. Energy is light, yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask them so many questions for you. We'll have our own big X-File on Stonehenge. The Stonehenge.
Oh.
And what's interesting, too, is when I saw those UAPs over there,
See what I mean?
they were way higher.
Yeah.
And on the left, they were right in center with the monolith.
So, see, you saw them in the same area we saw them.
Really have a thorough foundation of it, and this is the winter solstice.
Yeah, and this was first cleared out in 1965. We opened up this alignment, and you can see what a beautiful horizon that is, and you can see the tower out there. I think that's been up since 1970. There was a local TV station. I don't know who owns the tower now, but I think it's been up for over 50 years. But where we saw those lights would have been to the left of that. You cannot.
It was to the left and way, way higher.
Yeah, for your what you saw and what we saw.
I know, that was amazing.
You can see some of the cobbles. What we found out with the radar is these cobbles sit on bedrock, so they have bedrock. They put all these tiny stones, and then they put the wall on top of the cobbles. Makes it very, very stable, very secure, but more work to build a wall. So the wall's not just thrown here. It sits on a cobble foundation, and actually over here, and then there's one other place over there, the radar. You can see the stones here. They're here. They're all over the place here.
I noticed that.
That's a foundation, yeah. And again, behind me, these rocks should be on top, but they were displaced, and they broke through here. Now we use it for a little bit of a, like a way to get through here, And then there's arthostats right there. You can see the standing slabs on their side. That's the kind of stuff that really caught my dad's eye and people going back earlier in time. These big slabs and then big blocks of stone here. Yeah, versus farmers' walls, which are usually rounded type rocks, more like those here. This one here looks like I call it a dinosaur rock or bear. It looks like a head of a bear.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so talk about the witch's chamber in the haunt. So I was telling you about how in my sessions with the otherworldly beings, they told me about hidden buried treasure in the haunt, and I had to Google it. And this is how this story came
I
up.
used to fly over that all the time going into Logan Airport, landing on runway 22 left over there. There's my haunt right below us, And so a book came out in 1993. It was New England's Ancient Mysteries by Robert Cahill. And he has 2 museums in Salem, Mass. I think the family still has it. I think one's the Pirate, the other one's the Witches Museum. It's one of the Witches Museums, or a couple, I think. And we visited both of those. And Bob died probably more than 10 years ago. But 30 years ago this year, he was at my dad's house. I was off from the airline. I just got home from flying. And I went over there, and then I got a chance to meet Bob. And the book came out that year. And the book was all about strange sites all over New England, and artifacts too, what we call out-of-place archaeological artifacts, UFOs. And one of the sites he shows is in the haunt. It's called the Witch's Chamber. It's a stone structure, and I believe it's in the neighborhood out on the peninsula, far out of it. Mm-hmm. And people from mid-Mass, I meant, including the police officer, they go there quite a bit. And I told them about it, and they're going to see if they can actually track it down and get some good photographs. Because Bob's picture's pretty good, but I think they can take better pictures of what the structure looks like. And either it's a dolmen, which is a rock with legs under it, or it's like the V-hut shape. And the picture just doesn't have enough resolution in it. But it's called the witch's hut or chamber, and that's just a nickname given to it. We think it's one of these ancient megalithic sites right in the hut.
Wow.
So maybe that's part of the treasure.
I know, we should go over there. We're going over there now.
It's so close. I'm going to do a platform.
Okay, so the core heart of this whole area is over there.
Yeah,
okay?
That's the main site, yeah.
And we're going to go over there.
Yep.
That way is the summer solstice.
Yeah.
And then way over there is where we were at the winter.
Several hundred feet of the same kind of stone, arrowhead shape, basically.
The ETs call it a monolith.
Monolith.
So many Salems.
I know. And there are some sites down there with petroglyphs and everything we've seen. We've been there a couple of times. We love their house and everything, and they're in the mountains of South Carolina, right near the North Carolina and Tennessee border. I've been painting these probably since 1958 when we opened up, so people could see where some of the channeling was made by people. So anything with white paint would be a man-made cutout or carving. It could be old or it could be new, but we want people to see what human activity did here. And that's an underground drain that starts at the V-hut, about a little over 40 feet away. The drain actually starts at a chamber shaped like the letter V, and then it comes through the ground, and then the water goes through here, and what it does is it channels it out here just far enough to go into this underground drain. There's some silt in here you can see, but that's an underground drain that actually comes out over here. There are 12 of these drains from the hill. Some of them run 75 feet, all man-made, and they keep the place dry after rain or when the snow melts. So they channeled the whole hilltop to keep it dry. The whole storm system up here.
Wow.
Which is kind of a sophistication, They didn't just throw this place they prepared and they thought and they planned this whole thing out, I think. They didn't just throw this place together,
They did.
Would you like to go in there?
Yeah, let's
I
go
put my
in there.
glasses on. Usually it's better without a little reflection. So I can pick this up, I think. There we go.
Go under there.
There we go.
Thank you.
I'll get myself over there. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So walking towards the what we call the sacrificial table.
The sacrificial table.
And this big slab right here weighs about 4.5 tons. It's about 163 pounds per cubic feet. So roughly 9 feet by about 6 feet wide, and then they just do the math, and it's about a foot thick. So it's about 9,000 pound stone. It sits on 4 legs, as you can see, stone legs. And the opposite side for me actually rests against the oracle chamber. And that is the outside of the oracle chamber. It's well hidden and well concealed.
This is the oracle chamber.
Yeah,
here.
that whole wall there. That's the whole structure, that whole thing there. And during a ceremony, we think something may have taken place on top of this table, some sort of a ceremony perhaps. It's got this big groove that goes around it here. The groove is maybe like 4 or 5 inches wide and a couple inches deep. It's actually a trapezoid in shape. We used to think it was a rectangular groove. And the groove actually comes out in this little runnel right here. So when it rains or if there's a fluid on here, it will go in this direction. The table slightly tipped this way. And then it runs down here. And with the leaves collected, I just had this cleaned up the other day. I just had some wind and leaves. There's a notch in the bedrock. We think that was done intentionally. And either the fluid goes into that or you could set a vase in there and collect it, possibly. And this table came from beneath where the astronomical platform is, about 40 feet. Somebody quarried it from the bedrock, and there's more white paint underneath there where it came from. And you can see the white paint from here, underneath that platform.
You're talking about on the other side of the fence?
Underneath the stairs.
Right here.
Yeah,
okay.
Look, look,
yeah, I see
the
it.
paint there?
The paint.
That's where the table originally came from.
Really?
They actually quarried it out of there. There's no metal tool markings on the table. Somehow they shaped it in the bell shape. And then they set it up on these 4 legs. And when Goodwin came here in 36 and saw this, he thought it was sitting on the ground. He didn't realize there were 4 legs. I believe it was in 1938, the second year they were here, they were cleaning this area, all the dirt that was in here, and they removed it, and up to a couple feet of dirt. And when they went down, they found the legs underneath it, and they were quite surprised by this. Again, they thought the table was just sitting here on dirt. The whole thing is actually set up on 4 legs in the back of the wall. The back of the stone in the wall there actually supports that part of the table. And its orientation is true east and true west.
True east, true west.
Out of true north, yeah. And everything on the site is actually orientated in the cardinal points, not magnetic north, but true north. And that ties in with the astronomy, too. Everything is north, south, east, and west.
Yes. Again, and that really goes back to a lot of the practices of what witches do, the good ones.
The good witch.
Yeah,
right.
Not the evil.
Yeah. And I don't know,
I've had to study all of it.
Which is really cool. You know, we had Wicker here back in the early 70s, and we've had others up here since then. I think even the state flag of New Mexico is in colors, and it's like the north wind, the south wind, the east wind, and the west wind.
They talk about the 4 winds. When they were telling me about ancient Egypt,
yeah,
that's where it came from. They said it came from the Garden of Eden.
Really?
And God. And he talks about them too.
Oh, really?
Everything's like starting to make sense in this universe.
A lot of connections here. A lot of things that, they
all this,
together,
the way they do everything. This is why otherworldly entities are so involved with this kind of structure. It's everything, the alignments, the winds, the directions, and the different Sabbats. I mean, it's all making sense now.
This place definitely is some sort of astronomically aligned site, and I think it's all spiritual. And these people probably in their normal everyday things, they didn't disconnect from the site being spiritual, ceremonial site in the astronomy. This is probably just something they lived every day, this kind of thing. On special days they did gather here possibly, and they lived around the area. But it might have attracted people from distances too, from great distances on special occasions perhaps.
Yes.
That stone right there is a monolith, and it sits on a couple little pedestals against the bedrock. That stone had fallen over, and Dave Stewart Smith spent some time about 40 years ago, a little over 40 years ago. He joined us in 78. He had been working over in England and Scotland for what is today called English Heritage. I think it was called the Ancient Sites Society back then. Part of the British government, I guess, but he came back. He's from Connecticut. He came back to the States, found out that these sites exist in the new world, and he was blown away. And he stayed with us until his passing in 2016. And when he was passing, I actually got the chance to show him some of my serpent walls they just found, and some of those windows, the spirit windows. And again, we mentioned that a little bit earlier when we were talking, and he was blown away by that. And I was so sad that the cancer got to him, before we really started finding more of this, and in science you want to be able to repeat something, and you find more serpent walls, more windows, and then you find that they're located all over the landscape going out to the west coast, we think. When he stood this up back around probably, we have a date on this, he recorded it. The stone had fallen over, Gudrun found it fallen, and what he did is he got in here and he actually found these little pedestals, that one, and that one, I guess, and these were just laying there. And when he put the stone back in place, just basically put it back up here, it fit perfectly against the bedrock with those little shims there. On the opposite side, on the south side, there's another standing stone. And that stone right there, if we were over there on the other side of it right now looking at it like we were looking at this, you'd see that has little shims under it too. So that was a good piece of evidence that these people actually shimmed the stones against the bedrock so they would be balanced nicely,
Oh, yeah.
Some people suggested to us possibly these two stones represent male and female, maybe the wider hips of the female and the more taller, longer, probably phallic symbol or whatever. But this is also found at the West Canada Avenue over in England not too far from Stonehenge, near Avebury. There's a West Canada Avenue, and we've been there. Part of it's missing today, unfortunately. Like part of our site's missing. People took it away and used the stones for other purposes. But when you go to West Canada Avenue, some of the stones are taller and skinnier, and some are wider. And they say that's male and female. The kind of dual thing.
Yeah. The yin and yang.
Yin and yang, female, male. and again, Haley gets into a lot of. Right behind you can see a structure. And it's been partially rebuilt by Dave. He put the roof slab that had fallen down, but it's a 2-story building. It's the only 2-story building remaining at the site. Mr. Goodwin called it the double solar. He realized it was a double structure. And by the 1980s, David Stewart Smith was working. I say around 1980, actually, I was here, and he had to take down part of this chain link fence. He got in here, and he was able to put that stone on top. This stone here, we thought originally might have been a monolith standing, but it's very skinny at that end. But what Dave thinks is that this stone is actually a roof slab. This stone probably originated, and I'll walk over, you can stay there if you like, and I'll walk over. He thinks this stone here actually came from here, and this part, that part is very thin. Right in here is a roof slab, so it's a double roof slab. Might have been a little bit more stonework in here to support that. The heavy side of that would have been up here on the ramp. You know, kind of like a cantilevered kind of thing. All the weight was up there. Very little weight was out here, and it sat in here as part of a roof, so a double roof at one time. That stone's never been moved by Goodwin or any of us. It's never been looked at underneath it to see if there's any artifacts, really. I mean, people have poked around in it. But before Dave died, that was one of the things we were thinking maybe, because he didn't finish that 43 years ago when he put this stone back on top and had fallen in here, I guess. And we were thinking maybe get it out of there, lift it up, and put it back and restore it. Nowadays, they don't do so much restoration. They just do preventative maintenance. So some good and bad, you know, do we want to move it? Do we want to leave it the way it is? But we do think it belongs up here originally.
Yeah.
And this is like the Wizard of Oz. And this was found by Mr. Goodwin, one of the guys named Philip. He was a young man on the team of doing restoration from 37 to the early 1940s. And Philip, on the inside of the chamber, which is the oracle chamber, moved the stone and it was loose. And he took a knife blade and he was able to extract the stone. It was actually a plug that plugged up the other end of that. And you couldn't, this had a stone in here too, plus all the dirt was up to here. So when they were out here, they would be standing right here with their feet and they're looking down thinking this is sitting on bedrock. By the second year, I think it was, I was just reading this in his book, reviewing his book, because my book's coming out and I wanted to get to review his book after. I haven't read it in 50 years. So as I'm reading it, he talks about this tube, and they got on this side, they cleaned out the dirt. Here's these four legs, total surprise. And then there's a wall here. There's actually a plug here. Philip took his knife again, it was a dinner knife, because they actually had a workers' hut over here, and they had it set up where they could spend the night, and they had dishes, and they had silverware, and he took one of the knives, and he put it in here and popped the stone out. I wish he had saved it. But he found this was a tube that goes through 6 feet to the oracle chamber, and if you go on the other side of it, there's a stone step. You stand on the step, your chin is right at the top, right at the level of this tube here, and if you yell, the voice comes out underneath the table. If you're standing up above here in this ramp area, it sounds like the table's talking to you, maybe like a spirit or oracle.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, this is my favorite part. Yes, I didn't know.
To all the people, all these different stories, you know.
Like you were the god of the underworld.
You know, my instructions are they're all bring great destruction upon you, you know.
Oh, wow.
But, because I've been to Greece, to the Oracle of Greece, you know, and they had vapors and fumes, and they had, you know, people saying things. We've been to Mexico, where supposedly some of those practices took place, too.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what that thing would be used for, but when they left this place, they put a plug in there, the plug on the other side of that. They plugged up the underground drain in here, and then they plugged the chimney. There's a chimney flue right up here with 2 stone louvers that are now missing since we opened. In 1958, somebody stole them, but we have the photographs, many photographs of these 2 stone louvers that could be used to adjust the smoke or the draft for a fire. And when Goodwin's, one of his guys, again, his foreman at that time was Roscoe Whitney from MIT. He was an MIT grad engineer. And he, Malcolm and others said, hey, there's some stones hanging in the ceiling. So he came up here and he excavated here and found several inches of dirt. And they found a flat stone. They removed the flat stone, and under it are the 2 louvers. So the whole thing was sealed up. Like
wow.
They winterized, the place went away, and they never came back again. I don't know why they did that, but they did. It's kind of weird. It's like they closed it up, sealed it up.
Theorize about
kind of
it.
weird, huh? It's like they clean, close. This area here, some people say it's like the animal pen, where if we had sacrifices going on the table, we don't know if they did or not, but they kept maybe they kept the animals, and there's like 2 little niches in there where they could have kept food. But that's usually your imagination, because we have no idea why they designed it.
We should ask.
But that's another question. And the other thing, too, I found out is, like many other things here, including the table groove, it's all trapezoid. The shape of this area here, it's wider here than it is here. It seems intentional. It's actually trapezoid.
Yeah.
The chamber in New Orleans, with a roof slab falling in, we thought it was rectangular. It's trapezoid. And where the Patty family's house sits, we found that that's trapezoid. And one way we really noticed it was using the new LiDAR imaging, and it can see down to 1 centimeter. So when you put it on the screens, you pull it up, you can actually look down at the site very carefully, and you can actually see the trapezoid shape, but you can actually measure it too, down to 1 centimeter.
Wow.
And we're finding trapezoid repeats itself all over the site here now.
Wow.
Now, ancient people might have done that, but I think the farmer, shoemaker, would have used a 90-degree corner, not a, some trapezoid shape,
Yes.
The trapezoid can be found in South America and Mexico, which we've been to. Also in European megalithic sites, some of them have the trapezoid. Not all, but they found that too. I was reading about one of the structures in England. The floor plan, like one of ours, is not square or rectangular. It's actually trapezoid, like this is too, all
Wow.
We did see the oracle chamber. Well, it's dark. It's kind of dark in here, but so you imagine this is some sort of a window here, and because kids coming in here and people coming in here for years, it is now like an exit. It works good for our visitors, obviously. And this is the thing that was found back in the 30s by Malcolm Pearson. They call it the running deer. So the head would be up here. Actually, if I have my phone, I can light it up for you.
Yeah, I thought about getting mine. I got a good bit of light.
Oh, you do? Okay, with your camera. Oh, that's good. Should that.
Trying to look at that.
Oh, shoot. Let me see.
Oh, look at that.
So if I do this.
This is fabulous.
Maybe I can make it shadow it, maybe. I don't know if I can see the back of it and the back. That's like the tail of it, I suppose.
My goodness.
No problem. And see the head right there? The little head and the yellow. What they, even back in the Goodman's time, they call it the running deer, but back in the 50s or 60s, they started calling it the ibex, the Western European animal. And I Googled different ibexes, and what it looks like is the Iberian or Spain and Portuguese ibex. Because the antler looks like that. If you do Google that, there's different types of ibexes in Western Europe, but it looks like the Iberian. And that's where Barry Phelps says these people came from, according to him. The writings found here, and actually found in North America, South America, and Central America, Old World script seems to be Phoenician, Libyan, and Celtic. He said that they were all in Spain. We know that historically. And he thinks they jumped out of Spain and Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula, to the New World. Well, that does look like that. That's all I can say about that. I can't prove anything, but it is interesting, and it doesn't look like one of our white-tailed deer.
I should do a session in here and ask them.
And this place would be cool. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd be like, tell us what it means.
And this too. This is found in 67, 30 years later. You say it's an arrow carving pointing outward. A guide was walking through with a group of people, happened to look up, and he saw that arrow. And I don't know if I can get it but I can miss that too, because it's been talked by people for years. Yeah. But he calls it the arrow carving, and it's really hard to see it. It's like the arrow's right there, and there's this, the whole thing. I think it's right here.
It's really interesting.
But there it is right there, yeah. So,
and then it goes this way?
Yeah, we went up there.
What is this?
Look at this. We have a seat. We can sit right here. This is actually where I'm sitting right here. It's like a bench seat. That's the original rock that was attached to, and you can see the shape. Where my butt is that's how this used to be shaped. There's a metal tool marking. So I don't, somehow to cut this 90 degrees in here, made a nice, comfortable place to sit.
Yeah.
And look at the closet opposite. Beautiful closet. And imagine putting some sort of votive offerings in there or something.
There is something in there.
Isn't it? Oh, is there something?
Yeah, what is that? What is it?
Is it a stick?
I thought it was like an old banana. Is it a stick? It's a stick.
Or maybe it's a fertility thing.
Fertility. I am kind of like sensing some stuff like that.
Yeah,
this whole area.
They did have the fertility cults and stuff, I suppose. But see, there's 5 closets in here. We call them closets, and that's one beautiful one. But see the one down there?
Yeah.
There's one to the right of it. I was a kid, and I never even noticed that for a long time. That little one tucked away on the right side there, there's a beautiful, you see the main one right there. But
it's amazing to me that you used to run around in here.
Oh, we did play up here, yeah. We played hide and seek up here after hours, and we watched We slept in here in '72. All the guides. We had those cots laid in here. And that evening, this used to have
I would love
electricity.
to do that.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Yes.
Well, we watched on the table. We actually had electricity all the way up from the building. It was all. We had there's some wiring still in here, I think, from the '50s and '60s.
Really?
The wiring is it's what do you call it, Nomex? I don't see it. I mean, that's funny because it used to be. Well, anyway, we had lights in here, and we had lights all around here. And we watched Planet of the Apes from 1968. It was 4 years later, in '72. We watched it on the table.
Oh, wow.
At night, in the evening. Kind of spooky, too. So here's the speaking tube. The step here, we think, was left here. So you stand here, and like, I am the God of the underworld. Please accept. I accept your sacrifice.
Your offering.
Remember, Lords obey the priest to bring great destruction upon you.
Just like a politician.
Dennis, you're the chosen one.
I sound like a god. It is bed, and you can try it on if you want, but it got 8 feet long. Isn't it weird, huh? Like, I mean, look at what they went into building this thing, right? I mean,
It's almost like a tomb in there.
it does,
It's like
that's
somebody lays
it's funny
down.
when he mentions that in his book too, like the average here, and then they sealed it up around him. But that's one of so the step, the speaking tube, the bed, and there's a window. If you laid in there and you're looking out, you could see people in here moving, and they would not necessarily notice you. That's one of the window.
So what if they were like, it was a sexual, like, ritual area, and
When you put it down,
they always had to have witnesses in ancient times, so I'm serious. Kings and queens.
Now you just can watch your phone, but this is where the two. This is where the two. Good one actually. When they found those two lures, they actually got a picture in here, and he puts them down here just to show them, and then he put them back, and then in 20 years later, 1959, I think somebody stole them. So with a wooden platform is today, Goodwin thought originally he could pass through this wall somehow and go inside of those two, what he called beehive structures. They turned out to be solid, and then unfortunately he turned around and destroyed our astronomical center by rebuilding something else with the stones. Wow. Now before he found this, in his book, he built a fire in here. This was all blocked up with the two rivers, and he built a fire in here, which wasn't too smart because he said within 30 seconds they all had to run out of here. It was full of smoke.
Yeah.
And when they found this, opened it, he had the liver still in there. He built a fire, and within 5 to 10 minutes, it heated up to 83 degrees, and I think outside it was cool day,
Yeah.
So it drafted nicely. But he even says, I don't see any burn marks, I don't see any soot, I don't see any charcoal. So if this was used it was a long time ago, and maybe they didn't use it that often for a fire,
Maybe.
But the louvers are missing, and we got the pictures of it.
And what are those for?
Yeah, that's something we don't know. These are V-shaped marks. There's several of them on here, and if you were going to split the stone, it would make sense.
What if it's the doorway? It's an esoteric symbol that they've been teaching me about.
Well, I know what Haley would say that is. That's the womb.
Yeah.
Even the churches, like the cathedrals, you walk in, you see the way the front of the cathedrals are shaped. It's basically you're entering the womb, and it's a rebirth kind of thing. It's like cathedrals in Europe and stuff. But I don't know. That's a great question because there are more of those outside.
You need to let me do some sessions in here,
Well,
we can just find out.
About Dennis and I, so can you tell us about this marking right there? Go ahead.
Tell Dennis and I about the bones. I think he specifically said the 3 bones.
Old photograph. So the entrance of the oracle chamber originally had a roof over it. We have those photographs.
Right here?
Yeah, beautiful roof with lintels. And the pictures were taken around 1900. And somebody actually left graffiti on this stone in the lintel. Dave spent some time trying to find the original big lintel stone. I thought it could be that stone or another one behind it. And he goes, no, he never found it. Did somebody take it away from here? We don't know.
Wow.
Why would they do that, you know?
I don't know. Here, let me do
it's
something.
Missing today, yeah.
Let me get a shot of
I
this.
think I'm just going to check my...
I'm going to turn my light on. All right, be right back. Wait. Light. Is the light on? Okay.
I'll tell you, because like I say, I'm on here all the time, and I enjoy this kind of stuff anyway, you know?
Oh, yeah. I could listen to you all day.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And pick up, you know, the weather's just a big thing up here. If it's miserable, rainy, coldy, it just makes it hard to do the work, you know? You freeze. And so
I was so miserable in the cold. I'm going to go over here real quick. get a shot of this. Yeah, I could probably.
So this area we're in right now is called the Plaza area. I think Goodwin named it the Plaza. You know, it's surrounded by these different structures and everything, and kind of a sort of a semi-rectangular shape, probably trapezoidal shape. But anyway, this area here is an open plaza, and we think this stone originally came out. These are modern drill marks made sometime probably in the 1850s or 40s when the quarrymen were up here during the Paddy era. They used a star drill in the mall, and they made these holes, and they would put in two tapered guides with a plug, and they would hit it, and they split the stone. Unfortunately, it split it off, and probably a leg, like a stone leg like this, might have supported the front of it. So for some reason, they wanted this out of their way. What we think is when they were taking stones out here, taking stones away, this was in their way, so they knocked it off. There's another drill mark there. That's from a modern. That shows the quarrymen work in that area. And there's about 12 of those drill marks on the site. That's all.
Yeah.
And if the site was built by the Paddy family, somewhere in the 1780s, they started using this technology. You'd find these drill marks on all of these stones, like here, all this stuff. You don't find them except in a couple places, like 3 there, a couple were back there, and then there's that one right there, and there's a couple more up here too.
Wow.
Quarrymen work from there, destroying the site, moving towards us, I think.
And this is the turtle area over there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I want to film you talking about all of this, but I need more battery. My other 2 or 3 batteries are at home.
You've been lucky because a lot of times people come up here, drone or even the guys with the sound equipment or the cameras, and they're up here. Even like history, we're up here. They lose their batteries left and right.
Really?
It drains batteries. Some days it's fine. Some days it's just bad. You know.
Could be the frequencies of the area, because that's what they talk about is the energy
The drains can drain the batteries.
of these places. Yes.
Sounds like it, yeah, because we have that all the time happen up here. Those are more drains, you know. And that little chamber there is pretty much original, except for a couple stones on top from the early photographs. And you have the cutouts like this. There are several of them here. There's one shaped like a wine bottle, one like a spoon right there. The wine bottle one's further around the corner. But one other thing they all have is this little runnel, right? And that's all been man-made right there.
That looks like an old water sack.
That one does, yeah.
Yeah.
What they think Barry Fell thought they were libation bowls. You put fluids in there as an offering to the gods for fertility. And maybe, you know.
We can ask.
From that little chamber. Maybe that's facing true east. This is facing the morning sunrise throughout most of the year. Maybe they put little. You can see a lot of work went into hardly any. If you're making that for storage, you don't have much storage space in there for all this work.
Yeah.
Why would you put this on? But if it's a ceremonial ancient site, I can see people putting all this effort into, because all it was an offering. Not just only, but they put things in there as offerings in there, you know, to the gods, goddesses.
In little chambers like that.
Yeah, that's it.
And then there's more here.